Welcome to Wesley Impact. I'm Keith Garner. I wonder if you'd be prepared to open up your home to help others. Thank you for choosing to join us today. Last week we spoke with one of my colleagues at Wesley Mission, Jennifer Pulley, who oversees the work of out-of-home care that we deliver to support young people through Wesley Dalmar. Today we'll meet one person who's answered yes to the question I asked at the top of the show. Helen Conrow and her family have been opening their home to young people that need help and support for many years. She has 3 biological children, 3 adopted teenagers and 2 adopted toddlers. It certainly sounds like Helen has had a house full. Very exciting. We'll talk to her a little later in the show. And I plan to ask 2 questions, which I'm sure all of us might ask at some point. How do you manage and why? We'll also be joined by Jordan Warner, who will sing Build My Life with the Wesley Impact Band. Jordan returns to Wesley Impact after some time, and I'm looking forward to him sharing with us. And I'll share some thoughts from Mark, where Jesus Christ finds himself in conflict with the religious leaders of the day. He's not afraid to challenge them, as we shall see in just a few moments. Now, when we see a young person that has needs of any kind, we react to them and want to help. But I wonder if we want to help in these ways. Through our work at Wesley Dalmar, we come into contact with many young people, many people who need to find help. Often those come in the guise of people in one area needing help, and then others that come where people could make a positive difference by being engaged, involved, and being involved in more ways than we might expect. Becoming a foster care parent is not for everyone. At Wesley Mission, we screen all those who offer and are prospective foster carers to ensure that there's the right fit, not only for the young person, but also for foster parents and their families. Let's take a look at Michelle and Stephen's story on their journey to becoming foster parents.
So I'm Alison Wooden. I'm a case manager at Maitland, and I've been working with Wesley for 3 months. The family were the first family that came across to me. I've been working with them since September. They're just a wonderful family, very open and welcoming. They took Michael on when he was 4 months old, and they've had him ever since. So he's now heading into year 7, so he's very excited and growing into a lovely young man.
When we first got Michael, he was a chubby little boy with red curly hair, and he's just such a blessing. He just completes our family. Because I've got 2 girls, and yeah, it's a little boy that we didn't have. He knows who he is, he's very grounded, and he's very bright, very intelligent.
He just adds balance to our family, I think. We share a lot of interests, camping and going out in the bush and that. He's an outside boy, he likes riding his motorbike, he likes any sport, so he loves anything outside, doesn't he? So. He loves the dogs, animals and anything like that.
I chose Wesley Mission because they were a Christian base, and I felt safe to go to them, and they've been so supportive. They've helped me through things that I didn't think I'd get through, you know. They've just been there for me, and they've just helped us, and they've listened. And what I love is they listen to Michael.
We recently had a situation with Michael at school. He wasn't handling the environment that he was in. We were looking at transitioning him anyway to another school because he was in year 6, transferring to year 7. So we were looking at doing that with some discussion with both Michelle and Michael and Stephen. We decided that we would actually transition him faster. So the school he's gone into is actually a kindergarten right through to year 12 school. That was a slow process. We worked with the school, worked with the carers, and Michael is now happy and wants to go to school, and there's no issues, and he's making friends, which is a big thing, and yeah, he just really loves this new school.
Wesley Mission's been a godsend. She's been really, really special in our lives, you know. She's very supportive in everything, and I can talk to her about anything, and I know that she's open and honest with me, and that's what I like.
I just feel they've been so helpful and supportive, and I think it'll be a good blend, good relationship down the track.
If you would like to learn more about Wesley Mission, visit wesleymission.org.au. You can find help in our community services, connect with our church and congregations, discover a volunteer role that suits you, stay up to date on the latest news and information, donate to support our work, and help make a positive difference in your community. You can also connect with us on social media and subscribe to receive the latest news and information about Wesley Mission directly into your inbox. Visit wesleymission.org.au.
I don't feel safe in this house. It's not our home. The people here are scary. I'm worried something bad will happen. That's why I'm hiding here with my mum and my little sister. They're scared too. We don't want to stay, but Mum says there's nowhere else to go. If we leave, we have to sleep outside. I just want to run away.
In New South Wales, 18% of people experiencing homelessness are children. Your donation of $49 can help give children like Liam and Mia a safe place to sleep and keep them off the streets. Because children should not run away, children should run and play. Please donate now at wesleymission.org.au.
Now, please don't hesitate to be in touch. If you'd like to find out more about the wide range of services at Wesley Mission, or if we can help you in any way, our website and email addresses are on the screen now. I mentioned earlier that Helen Conrow is our guest today. Helen is a biological mother of 3. She's adopted 3 children. She's got children in short and longer term care at home. Now, any parent of 3 children would feel they've got their hands full without looking for more. Tell us what it is, Helen. I welcome you to the show and tell you what it is that gives you the desire to do that.
Thanks, Keith. Well, I'm a Christian, and I've always felt it a calling to work with children, and I don't know, I've just had a real desire to help them as well. And my husband and I decided 16 years ago to start fostering children, and I had a pamphlet put in my letterbox from Wesley Dalmar, went to the information night, and it sort of went from there. Yeah.
And when you talk about these children, has that been a feeling that just come about, or is it something you've always felt?
Always had a desire to care for children, to work with children. And looking back, I feel like it really was a calling from God to do that.
Now, this is the big question. How do you manage?
Well, it's not always easy. I love having a house full of children. I think time management's a big thing, because you need to try and spend time with the children, your husband. I have 7.5 grandchildren as well. So I think the time balance is a big thing. Always finding time also for your partner in that.
And children who are your biological children have, when you started to do this, how did they react to it all?
We always included them. When we started, our youngest was 13. We had meetings around a table. We talked to them about it. They were also keen. I always said we wouldn't do it unless the family was involved, and my husband, of course. So
they were fostering a brother and sister and all of that, weren't they? They were very much a part of that. How did you know it was right for you?
I don't know. I just really felt a real compassion to help children.
So there was some conviction for you.
Yeah.
And I suppose that, did it become more, you were more convinced of it as it went on, as it were?
Yes, and during our training.
Right.
As well, in the beginning.
Now, you've done it through our Wesley Dalmar services. Tell us a bit about that. You know, we don't want to brag about it, but it's important that we tell people what we do.
They've been fantastic. They, what I love is you have your caseworker, you have a contact number. If they can't get back to you straight away, they always return your calls. You might just want to download some days. And it's just lovely having someone to talk to and their support. Ongoing training too in any areas that you feel you might need a bit of help with. And there's always training courses. They're just very supportive.
I mean, when my conversations with people like Nigel and April and that team, that's been an important factor, not to actually be prescriptive about what people should do, but just to be there. You need that as a parent anyway, don't you? I mean, that's a part of being a parent. Some of the finest examples of being parent is surely when you've got somebody you can turn to for support. And the journey to adoption, was that a long journey? Because these are the kind of stories people hear.
Yes, well, the 3 that we adopted, we had a 3, a 2 and an 11-month-old. We didn't start adoption till the oldest was in year 4 at school, mostly because of giving them security and permanency. Yes, it's really made a difference for them being...
And the Christian faith, you've talked about the importance of that in your own life. It's a natural part of your home anyway.
Yes, and it's lovely to be able to share that with these children about having someone who cares for them too, having God that cares for them and loves them. And we hope that will continue.
And it has to become their own. You can't force it in the same way that you would never force it on anybody. But you find that does happen in due course.
And it gives them also a belonging too.
What's the difficult part of it all?
Well, as with your own biological children, you have your ups and downs, different behaviours. Like I say, the constraints on your time and stuff, but it's just worth it to see them blossom and grow and learn and become adults themselves. Still involving the birth family, we still have visits with birth family, and that's been okay as well.
Has it really been okay? You've managed that okay?
Yes, I mean, it has its difficulties too, and different depending on the circumstances of the child. But we've always found if you are open and just kind to them, it does make a difference, and it keeps that connection they have.
And I think it probably strengthens the child as well to know that you're doing that.
Yes.
Look, we're going to come back, ask you to stay around for a moment or two and continue our conversation a little later on in the show. Let's welcome now Jordan Warner to sing with the Wesley Impact Band, Build My Life.
Worthy of every song we could ever sing, worthy of all the praise we could ever bring, worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you. Jesus, the name above every other name. Jesus, the only one who could ever save. Worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you. Oh, we live for you. And holy, there is no one like you. There is none beside you. Open up my eyes in wonder and show me who you are and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love to those around me. Holy, there is no one like you. There is none beside you. Open up my eyes in wonder. Show me who you are and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love to those around me. And I will build my life upon your love. It is a firm foundation.
Experience the Galilee and the towns and cities where Jesus was raised and called his home. Capernaum, Nazareth, Tabgha, Magdala, Caesarea Philippi, Bethsaida, Tiberias, and of course the Sea of Galilee all feature in this 6-part series as Keith Garner explains the first century context of biblical events.
Jesus was born during a time of change in the political and economic leadership of this region. Fishermen around a lakeside was really one of the big businesses. Why Jesus? Why didn't people ignore him? Why did they take him seriously? And what are the questions we should be asking today if we're going to take Jesus seriously?
The Man of Galilee is available now and comes with a study guide for leaders, small groups and individuals. For more, visit wesleymission.org.au.
Let me read to you from Mark 7 today, 1 to 8, a passage where we find great conflict emerging and differences. The Pharisees and some of the teachers of the law who had come from Jerusalem gathered around Jesus and saw some of his disciples eating food with hands that were defiled, that is, unwashed. You see, the Pharisees and all the Jews do not eat unless they give their hands a ceremonial washing, holding to the tradition of the elders. When they come from the marketplace, they don't eat unless they wash, and they observe many other traditions, such as the washing of cups, pitchers, and kettles. So the Pharisees and teachers of the law asked Jesus, "Why don't your disciples live according to the tradition of the elders instead of eating their food with defiled hands?" He replied, "Isaiah was right when he prophesied about you hypocrites. As it's written, these people honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. They worship me in vain. Their teaching are merely human rules." You have let go of the commands of God and are holding to human traditions. Jesus finds himself caught up in a conflict with the scribes and the Pharisees. They observed the disciples eating food without ceremonial washing and therefore failing to observe the tradition of the day established by those considered to be the elders, the people who helped to define what the rules actually meant. The response of Jesus Christ concerns what goes into a person as opposed to that which emanates from the human heart. Jesus seems to give scant regard to oral tradition and law. Now, I don't believe that is the case, but you can see how people would easily reach that conclusion when you read this passage. These are not the moral laws of God, is one of the things that Jesus is really driving home for us. He's asking us to be released from that kind of unhealthy, fundamentalist attitude to law. His concern is spiritual transformation. He desires purity of the heart. So what we find in this passage are a number of things that I just remind you of. In verse 7, it's quite clear that Jesus accused the scribes and the Pharisees of vain worship. That's a bit strong, isn't it? Vain worship. Now, he didn't hate Pharisees, he didn't hate scribes. There were many Pharisees that came to him. You remember Nicodemus and other people who were leaders and elders, members of the Sanhedrin that came to him. But he did recognize that there were some problems that they had. They had lost their touch with the commands of God. It tells us in verse 8, quite clearly this truth is there. You've let go of the commands of God. And he's really saying you're keeping hold of human traditions. The commands of God are important. Jesus didn't condemn the commands of God. The 10 Commandments are important to him. The rules were important. But there seems to be a superficiality about such rule keeping. That's why it's important here that we see in verse 5. This is all about washing your hands. Do you know there were hundreds of rules that all related to how you should wash your hands and how you should use cooking utensils? Hundreds of rules. Now that's just a bit over the top. And Jesus knew that that was the case. He wanted to replace that kind of obsessional behaviour with rule keeping to something far, far more important. He wanted to replace ritual with righteousness. Now, I think that's really what we find in verses 3 and 4 here, when he's talking about all that they were criticized from when they came in from the marketplace. He wanted to give them something different. And that's what the coming of Jesus does. It doesn't just get rid of things, but it transforms them. It changes them, just as it changes human life. Human life needs to be transformed by the grace of God. The grace of God is what makes the difference. And that difference is a powerful one, and one that will always, always make a difference to the way we live our lives. It's a great thing that Jesus does here. And he also says what really matters is not just what we put into ourselves, that's i.e. rules about eating, about acting, but what comes out of a person's life. Because that really is so very, very important, the way our lives are lived. Jesus knew that that would be true for the disciples. I can't imagine what the disciples were thinking when they listened to Jesus in conversation here, when they saw and observed the conflicts that took place between Jesus and the scribes. Jesus didn't set out to cause conflict, but he certainly was not afraid to raise the issues as the issues appeared, as they emerged in specific circumstances. And you know, Mark realized that this would need to be explained to some, which is why when you read this passage, you find in brackets the gospel writer explains. Mark is really saying, well, the reason why you need to know this is because of all the rules. Now, Hugh Latimer was one of the great Christian martyrs. He was somebody who served God, and yet he lost his life for serving Jesus Christ. He came to a conclusion, a very significant one in terms of the kind of theme that's emerging here. He said this: we must first be made good before we can do good. We must first be made just before we can please God. And I think that's really one of the powerful messages in this passage, that really, if we're going to live the life of Christ, then it needs to be that the life of Christ is within us and then comes out of our life day by day in the way that we care for others and we live our life of discipleship. First made good before we can do good.
If you would like to contact Keith and find out more about today's program, write to us at Wesley Mission, Post Office Box A 5555, Sydney South 1235, or you can send us an email to impacttv@wesleymission.org.au. On our website, you can catch up on past episodes of Wesley Impact, find out more about our work, read online magazines and articles, and connect with us on social media. You can also connect through Keith's blog and stay up to date on all the latest news and information from Wesley Mission, wesleymission.org.au.
Well, thank you for sharing your time with me today. I hope you found looking at that passage in Mark and seeing the challenges of Jesus with the religious leaders and all their rule keeping of interest. And I also hope you found my conversation with Helen to be enlightening. So thanks for staying on a bit, Helen. Let me, I suppose, ask this question, because I think this is the big question that people have in their minds. That people are listening to our conversation, they're thinking to their minds, I wonder if we ought to think about doing that, considering being a foster parent. What would you say to them?
I'd say yes. If you're thinking and considering it, definitely pursue it and look into it more. With Wesley Dalma, I know, has information evenings, which are very, very helpful. That's how we started. And they will answer all your questions and concerns. And then they have a course that you can do after that. And it just really opens up as to what it all involves. And by the end of it, you'll know whether that is...
So you're not going to be left on your own?
No, very, very supportive. Always someone there for questions, or if you just want to talk, very much so.
Helen, thanks for being prepared to tell us a bit about your story, and I hope by people listening they can feel that this is something for them too. So thank you for coming on the show. You can watch this or part episodes on our website. You can also find out more about Wesley Mission and stay in touch with us. Join us again next week here on Wesley Impact, when we have music, Bible, conversations, and the opportunity to meet together in this kind of way. I'm always grateful that you've given us the privilege of sharing with us from your home. Thank you for the time that you've shared with us today, and may God bless you this week in all that you seek to do. Goodbye, and God bless you.
Wesley Mission walks alongside people of all ages struggling with homelessness, addictions, mental health issues and financial stress. To find out more, visit wesleymission.org.au.